In India, two figures really capture the national imagination, right? You have the soldier standing guard at the border, and then you have the cricketer defending the pitch. One is about national sovereignty, the other is about national sport. And this has sparked this huge, ongoing cultural debate about what and who we really truly value.
And that really brings us to the core question, the one that sits right at the heart of our national priorities. How on earth do we explain this enormous gap in pay when, in their own unique ways, both are serving the country? It's a tough one. So to even begin to understand this, we have to look at this fundamental conflict between valor and value. I mean, in a country where cricket is basically a religion, our top cricketers are treated like demigods. But what about the soldiers? The ones carrying out their duties silently, day in and day out, far from any spotlight. And this, right here, is the emotional heart of the whole thing. On one hand, you've got the roar of the crowd in the stadium, this massive wave of adoration for entertainers. And on the other hand, you have the quiet, daily, life-risking sacrifice of our protectors. It's a real clash between what we love to celebrate and what we absolutely depend on for our safety. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We're going to move from the feelings and the sentiment to the cold, hard numbers. This is where we break down the stark financial reality that separates these two professions.
All right, let's really dig into these figures because this is wild. For a soldier, we're looking at an annual income of around 6 lakh rupees. Now, if they're serving in a place like Siachen, the world's highest battlefield, where it hits minus 50 degrees, their hazard pay is about 42,500 rupees a month. Now look at the other side. A top-tier cricketer, their annual income can soar to 50 crore. And their IPL salary alone can be anywhere from 1 to 15 crore for just a couple months of work. The difference is it's absolutely staggering.
And when you do the math, the scale of this just hits you like a ton of bricks. A top cricketer can earn up to 8,000 times more than a soldier. Just let that sink in for a second. 8,000 times. And if you're a visual person, well, here you go. This is what that 8,000 times difference actually looks like. That tiny little sliver on the left, that's the soldier's income. And that massive tower next to it, that's the top cricketer. A chart like this makes that huge financial gap completely impossible to ignore. But this whole story isn't just about what individuals are getting paid. It gets a lot more complicated when we start looking at the institution behind the cricketers. The incredibly powerful Board of Control for Cricket in India, also known as the BCCI.
Now, this is a really crucial point to understand. The BCCI is not a government body. It's a private, non-governmental organization. And it's not just any private group. It happens to be one of the richest, most powerful sports organizations on the entire planet.
Just to give you a sense of the kind of money we're talking about, here's a number for you. 48,000 crore rupees. That was the estimated value of the IPL just a few years ago. That's the scale of the wealth that this private body, the BCCI, is controlling.
And all that wealth leads to a very, very critical question. For huge events like the IPL, thousands of state police and paramilitary forces, all funded by us, the taxpayers, are deployed for security. So, if the BCCI is a private company sitting on literal billions, why does the public so often end up footing the bill to protect their commercial events?
Okay, so all these financial facts, they really force us into a bigger, more philosophical conversation. A conversation about our national values and, well, what we really choose to prioritize as a society. So let's compare them, side by side. A soldier's duty? It's rooted in protection, in sacrifice. They defend our sovereignty, guard our borders around the clock, they fight insurgencies, and they're there for us during natural disasters. Now, a cricketer's role? It's to entertain us, to bring us together through sport, and to get India recognition on the world stage. Look, both are valuable for sure, but their core purposes, they're just worlds apart. And that's the tough question that comes out of all this, isn't it? When you look at the rewards, not just the money, but the social status, the fame, it forces us to ask something a little uncomfortable. Are we putting a higher price on a 6-hit out of a stadium than on a life put on the line at our borders? So with all that in mind, it's time to think about what comes next. What are the big, lingering questions that this whole debate really forces us as a nation to confront? Well, here's one idea that's being talked about. Should we create a special, dedicated national fund specifically to raise the pay and benefits for our soldiers and their families? A way to officially acknowledge that their service is, frankly, undervalued. And what about accountability? How about this? Should a private, incredibly profitable organization like the BCCI be required by law to pay the government back in full for all the security it uses, to take that burden off the taxpayer?
And finally, let's look beyond just the money for a second. There's a cultural question here too. Should we as a society make a real, conscious effort through our movies, our media, our public events to celebrate our soldiers with the same kind of passion and intensity we have for our cricket stars?
We're going to leave you with this final thought. It's a quote that kind of cuts through all the data and statistics and gets right to the point. It really isn't about begrudging a cricketer their earnings. It's about looking in the mirror and asking ourselves a very simple but very profound question. Have we put the right price tag on sacrifice? Thanks for watching VibeSense.